Hi, Book Tube. So I'm here to talk about the books I've read the first part of September. As you can see from my bookcases, I am still in the process of organizing them, and I decided to make this wall fiction, and then this one right here nonfiction. And when I was sorting them, I realized I own a lot more fiction than I do nonfiction. And given, this bookcase is mostly my boyfriend's books, it's like fantasy and sci-fi, although I do read, or have read, most of them. But it just goes to show, like, still, I'm reading, way more ebooks than physical books, and I guess I tend to read nonfiction ebooks more than I purchase them. I need to remedy that, but at least to make it a little bit more even. But yeah, I need to fix this so it's not so messy of a background. But I don't know if I have enough, actually, to fill this one shelf, but we'll see. I need to figure out how to, like, actually stand up so you can see the top part and not me, like, sitting down. But I don't have, like, a tall tripod. I just have a little mini one, so I don't know if I can hang it from the ceiling or something. Like, have it dangling around. I don't know. Anyway, so I've had a pretty good reading month so far. I read a lot of Newbery winner and honor books because I'm trying to make that a priority for the rest of the year, because I had given myself a goal. I think it was 2 years ago, or basically 2 years ago now, of wanting to read them all in 3 years. So I really need to pick up my game, because I'm still in the 1950s, and I'm reading them in chronological order. So that being said, you're gonna see several children's books in here. So I thought I'd start with the physical books. And speaking of children's books, this actually isn't a Newbery book, but I found this at a free library, and I love the cover. This is Halfway to the Sky by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. The cover caught my eye. It's like really like the fall, or the sunset colors here in the mountains. And then the description really sold me, because it's about a young girl, and she's hiking the the Appalachian Trail that goes from Georgia to Maine. And it starts out with her, she's 12 years old, and she's running away from her mother, because she, I don't want to give anything away, but I think it's at the very beginning of the book. Yeah, it does. Anyway, the back of the book here, and at the very beginning too, that she loses her brother, and so her house is in an upheaval, and she just wants a break. And so, and school isn't going well either. And so, in the middle of the school year in March, she runs away from home. They're living in Tennessee, and she goes down to Georgia to start the Appalachian Trail. And then along the way, she gets joined by her mother. Once her mother finally finds her, and then they, as they form a group, and they continue on with the trail. And so it was just nice to read about that. I love, like, reading, like, hiking books. I like hiking myself, and I've never hiked, that long of a trail by no means. But I love, like, reading about it and, like, experiencing it through someone else's viewpoint. And so yeah, this was really short, and it was really nice to read. And then, of course, as they go along, they're trying to mend their relationship and all of that. I then have The Family Under the Bridge by Natalie Savage Carlson, and this is illustrated by Garth Williams, who illustrated the Little House on the Prairie series. This was a Newbery Honor book from 1950-something. Let's see. This was written in 1958. And this was a little bit interesting book. It's about a homeless man, this one here, and he's living in Paris, France, under a bridge. And when he comes home one day, he finds that someone is living in his home, this little, like, section of the bridge, and it's a family of little kids. They've lost their dad, and the mother is trying to, all of a sudden, is needed to make a living, and she doesn't have much education, so she's washing clothes, and she's trying to save up money to have a house. But meanwhile, instead of sending the kids to an orphanage or, like, a foster care or anything like that, she wants to keep them together, because otherwise they'll be broken up into individual homes. I'll leave that to you, but, just decide, if that's the right choice or not, to have them, living on the streets while the mother's working. I don't know. But the mother doesn't ask him, nor does she want him to be a babysitter. But he, and they're little kids. I think like 6-7 years old and younger, something around there roughly. And so he doesn't want to have pity for them, because he doesn't really like kids. But as he gets to know them, then he feels, at first he starts using them to get money. Like this book, I was a little bit controversial for me. He uses them to here I'm their grandfather, and we're all homeless, and do you have any money to spare? And like, here, look, they'll sing for you, and doesn't deserve some money right there, and stuff like that. So it was just, but yeah, it ends up with him really actually truly caring for them and helping them along their life journey of trying to get a house. Let's see. Then I have another honor book. This is Banner in the Sky by James Ramsey Ullman. And this is a reread for me. I read this in 6th grade. Like, it was a whole, like, group read. And I remember the cover. And I remember it was about mountain climbing. And, like, I know they made it to the top. But that's about it. And so that's all about it from what I remember. I mean, but it is about mountain climbing. They do make it to the top. But it opens up with the boy. What is his name? Rudy. He's always wanted to rock climb, to hike, that kind of thing, climb mountains. And his mother is firmly against it. His mother and his whole family, because his father died. Not because of a mistake of his own, but he stayed on the mountain to, help someone, and then while they were there, waiting for like people to come up and help them bring them back down, they got caught in a snowstorm. So the family does not want Rudy hiking, but he still does it in a way, like small little hikes, not like too far up. But when he's on one of those little like foothill walks, he finds this hiker who is stranded, and he helps him like in like a little like pit in the ground, or like a crevice, and so Rudy helps like bring him up, and then comes to find out that the person he helps save is a famous hiker. And so Rudy like finagles his way into hiking to the top of a mountain, the mountain that his father died on, with this master hiker. And so yeah, it's a little bit of a, I don't know, like a unrealistic story in a way, but it was still nice to read and to remember when I was reading this in 6th grade. And then the last physical book I have is Beverly Lewis's The Shunning. This is the first book in the Heritage of Lancaster County series, and I have all 3 books, and I'm going to be unhauling all 3 books. I read this first one, and I didn't really care for it that much. This is an Amish fiction book. And I think this is the first Beverly Lewis book I've read. And this is about, what is her name? Katie. And she always feels like she acts and behaves different. Doesn't feel like she truly belongs in the family, because if she looks a bit different, she acts a bit different. And what I mean by that is, and this is the part that really drove me batty, was, and again, I know a little bit about the Amish religion, but not a ton. The part that drives me crazy is she feels like she stands out because she likes listening and singing songs, and that includes humming songs. She got in really big trouble for humming a song as she's walking like from one house to the other, and the dad like, people could hear you, they could hear you humming. I guess for the Amish religion, you are only allowed to sing on their like is it Sundays? Yeah, sing on Sundays during church. That's it, and only Bible songs, nothing else. And so these songs were like, I guess like the 1600s they were saying. And so she wasn't like listening to like pop music or rock or anything like that, no modern music. She was like creating songs in her head. So it wasn't like she was being like devious that way, listening to like the radio or anything like that. So that part I did not care for. And the other part, because of her not belonging, is does it say anything on here? Okay, it doesn't. So I don't know. I won't give it away because you want to read it. But it's very obvious, the mystery in here of why she doesn't belong and what the mother is trying to keep secret. So yeah, not interesting plot and irritating conflict, I would say, of the between the characters. So let's go to the ebooks. The first one is The Caretaker by Paul Doyen. And this was a short novella about Mike Bowditch. I mentioned this on my TBR, and I think I Friday read as well. So I don't want to go too much on these stories. But it's a crime series, and this is I think it's like 11.5 or 10.5, something like that. And it's a quick story about him and his friend solving a mystery of a house that is being vandalized, of these people who just moved there, and why these people all of a sudden being attacked when, you know, nothing is being stolen. It's just things are being like thrown all over the place, and, you know, things like that. I then have Dead by Dawn by Paul Dorian. This was the next book, like the full length book in this series. And this one was interesting. I don't think any of the other ones I've read by him have this format of flipping back and forth in time. So you have literally chapter by chapter. You know, the one chapter you have is like currently what he's going through, and it opens up with him being, he's driving along in the dark of the night, and he makes a turn, and there are these spikes on the road. Someone's put them there, and he runs over them, goes and crashes down the hill, drives down the hill into a river, and is struggling to get out, and people are shooting him, and that's like the very first chapter. And then it flips back to what he was doing earlier in the day. So this whole book is one day, and my goodness, is it a towering day. You get to know the backstories of why he's on this hill, who is he investigating, and who is he running across that is out to get him. And so yeah, this is just a fantastic story. I like all the books I've read so far by this author. I have Charmcaster by Sebastian de Castell, and I love, you can't see it, I love these covers. I really want to see how I can get my hands on them, because the at least the American edition or the print edition aren't nowhere near as intricate and pretty as these. I really need to look at it. I also get the whole set. But this is following someone. I cannot remember their name. And I think it's like book 3 or 4, so you think I would know their name by now. But I didn't read them back to back. So I can't really go into too much detail about this one, but it's a magical world. And the main character here, he is from a magical family. Although he himself doesn't have much, he has some magical ability, but nowhere near what his family's strength is. And so he's kind of an outcast, and he sets off in his own adventure, you know, leaves his hometown, leaves his family way behind. They still show up here and there, trying to direct him and meddle in his affairs, although they don't want him back. It's not like that. It's not like they're trying to get him back. They're not the happiest of families. Very much power hungry people. And then his sidekick here is a squirrel. Is it squirrel cat? I think that's what it's called. And it has these like webbing, so it's like a flying squirrel, but it's a cat-sized squirrel. But it's evil, not evil. It's constantly like, I'm gonna bite your nose off, and it makes these little like the main character is the only one who can understand him. Understand the squirrel cat, and he's constantly like, it's like, oh, what's a cute little kitty there, and he's chirping away. He's like, what is he saying? And he's like, oh, nothing, you know, like, so like, I like, there's a lot of humor here. And this is Sebastian de Castell's YA series. I still need to read his adult series, and I have that here. I have like 2 or 3 of the books, so I need to get all that. Once I finish this, then I'm getting onto that one, because I think that one has a little bit more like, I know this one doesn't have any foul language. This, I guess, has a lot of foul language and stuff, but we'll see. I'm not a huge fan of that, but if it's done well, then okay. I then have The Picture House by the Sea by Holly Hepburn, and these are 4 books that I read. It's blurry, so I can't pick it out. But each of the titles was little novellas that make a book, was named after movies. So we have Some Like It Hot, Singing in the Rain, Dirty Dancing, and whatever that other one is that I cannot remember. I can't even read it. I can't pick it out. But I just loved it, because this is about a main character who she is going back to not exactly her hometown, but where she spent all of her summers at her grandparents' house in the Cornwall area in England. And they own a gelato shop. They're Italian, and so I kept wanting to eat ice cream every single time I was reading these books. She's helping out her grandparents, and then she's also helping a struggling movie theater that is very much on the brink of being completely bankrupt. And so her job in London was a PR person. She's like the perfect person to help them get off and on their feet. And so she is creating events, one big event in each book, And the movie that's being played is the title of each one. And it was just so fun to read. And so when each event, it wasn't just like a normal, okay, buy your ticket, go sit down, have some popcorn, and watch the movie. No, it was like you dress up. There's an event beforehand, like on one of the in one of the books, there's a musician that comes and plays some songs, like on the beach, and it was just great fun to read. And I want to read more of Holly Hepburn. It seems to be like all of her books that she's written are broken down into novellas, so you can read them either like a novella as you get to it, or you can read it all as a bind up. So yeah, this is just really cute, and I cannot wait to read more from her. It was a really delightful surprise. I then have Othello by William Shakespeare, and I read this for what was ShakeTube is now Shaketember, and I hadn't read this last week. The Tempest is what they just finished, and each week they are doing a discussion video, and they're posting that on like their various channels. And so Othello, I talk about rereading books like Banner in the Sky here. This book, Othello, I read when I was a sophomore in high school, and I haven't read it since, I don't think. And this is following Othello, and people are trying to control his emotions, and he, I don't know, like lets them away. He feeds into like those weaknesses, and does bad things. Again, I don't want to get too much into it, because I mean, I don't know how much you can spoil Shakespeare, but I know not everyone has seen or read the plays. And so the one thing about this, and I remember as a kid, I can't remember what I really thought about it. But, sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. But what I didn't care for that much, or I didn't believe in, was his, like, jump off the cliff into this rage and believing what people are telling him instead of what he was seeing with his own eyes, or, like, trusting in his relationship is what I should say. So that part was just, but the whole story, of course, is Shakespeare. I mean, it was good. And I'm glad I had the push to read it from Shaketember. I then have Ginger Pie by Eleanor S. This is another Newbery book. And this was a very basic story. In a way, it's about Ginger Pie, which is a family's new dog. And they go missing. And then it's just the little kids finding the dog. Happy ending. That's the gist of the story. There was more in it. The kids like explored the neighborhood, and so you got to know some of the neighbors and what was happening in their neighborhood. But it was okay. It was just a middle of the road kind of book. I then have The Bears on Hemlock Mountain by Alice Dalglish, and talk about basic stories. Oh my goodness, how did this win the Newbery honor? I guess it's the silver, so it's honor. Because children's, all these books so far have been at least like middle grade-ish range, whereas this one very much came across as something for like a 5 or 6 year old. It had like very repetitive, like kind of like sing-songy writing. It's about a boy who is told there's no bears on the mountain. He goes hiking one day. Oh my goodness, there's bears on the mountain. End of story. So yeah, it was okay for what it was, but did it need to win the Newbery? I don't know. But I do like this cover. If you can see, there's bears hiding right here in the trees. Let me switch hands. And then I have Brenda Wineapple's Hawthorne, A Life. This was a delightful book. The reading, the writing style and all that, I was just in it, and I was just like, going along. I didn't expect to read it, as quick as I did. I was expecting to like read it across the month, but no, I did not want to put this down. And what's kind of funny about the writing, or ironic, I guess, is that she wrote in kind of an aloof writing style, and I can't exactly pinpoint how, how to here's a line that shows, she wrote aloofly. Is that a word? But it felt like that way. It felt a bit removed, in a sense, because Hawthorne himself was very much a person who wanted to remove, who was, very very much a loner and, removed from society in a way. And when he wasn't completely like that, he wanted to portray himself like that. So the book I read, that had him in it, the Peabody sisters. It talked about how when he met Elizabeth Peabody and her family, he was saying how, oh, for the last 10 years after college, I have been secluded in my room. I haven't seen my sister in 3 months. We cross paths, and we don't talk to each other, that kind of thing. But that wasn't true. He made trips into the city. He had friends to go and talk to and meet up with. I mean, yes, he was a secluded person, but not as secluded and I don't know, Emily Dickinson, hiding in the attic kind of person that he wanted to himself to appear like. But yeah, this was a great book. Hawthorne himself, like anyone, we all have our good and bad points, and so yeah, I could harp a bit on his bad points, but he had a lot of good qualities as well. But I mean, I don't want to go on too much of that. But that being said, great book. I want to read more biographies to see how they all stand out. But yeah, this was a fantastic book to start with. And those are all the books I've read so far in September. It was quite a few, but like I said, a lot of them were children's books, so like really tiny. Like this one is like, I don't know, like 100 pages for one of these. But I do want to get through these, so I need to read. I think I have like 8 more or something Newbery books to read this month. But yeah, let me know if you've read any of these, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.